Let's talk about the Czech Republic, a country famous for Prague, castles and beer cheaper than water. But behind every old church and perfect beer is a history wilder than most made-up stories. This isn't just a small country's story, it's a big tale of kings, rebels and huge empires that shaped Europe itself. Czech history is like a secret trick to understanding Europe's biggest dramas. Here, big changes in religion, huge battles and golden times all happened before they hit the main stage in Europe. It's the ultimate underdog story, one where the underdog sometimes builds the world's most beautiful city just to prove a point. We'll meet famous founders, smart kings and brave priests who weren't afraid to challenge the Pope. So grab a Czech beer and get comfy. We're about to uncover a history that's much more important and fun than you might think. Let's give this amazing story the attention it deserves. Every country needs a good origin story, a tale that explains not just where its people came from, but why they belong there. These stories are the roots that anchor a nation's identity, and sometimes, they're just as magical as they are historical. And the Czechs have a great one, full of hills, heroes, and a little bit of legend. It all begins with forefather Czech, who, according to legend, led his tribe on a long journey until they reached a hill with sweeping views. He declared, "This is our home," and with that, the story of the Czech lands truly began. Enter Libus, a wise and visionary princess famed for her prophecies. She stood on a hill and foresaw a city whose glory will touch the stars. And just like that, the legend of Prague was born, destined to become a jewel of Europe. Libus chose Přemysl, a humble plowman, as her husband. Together they founded the Přemyslid dynasty, literally building a royal family from the soil of their new homeland, blending myth and reality. The Přemyslids ruled for over 4 centuries, uniting scattered tribes, founding Prague, and transforming small settlements into a thriving medieval kingdom. Their legacy is woven into every stone and street. Life wasn't easy. Surrounded by powerful neighbors, they had to defend their land and identity, often fighting for survival in a turbulent medieval world. Wenceslas I, yes, that good King Wenceslas from the Christmas Carol, tried to bring Christianity to the land, but royal life was never simple. Family feuds, betrayal, and even murder were part of the royal drama. Despite all the challenges, the Přemyslids introduced Christianity, built impressive stone castles, and put Bohemia firmly on the map of Europe, making it a place of both faith and power. They were the first great builders, and the sometimes troubled family that shaped Bohemia's destiny, leaving a legacy that still echoes today. Without the Přemyslids, there'd be no Prague, no glittering crown jewels, and far fewer epic stories to tell around the fire. They set the stage for everything that followed, giving the Czech lands a story worth remembering and retelling for generations to come. After the Přemyslids faded into history, a new dynasty rose to power, the Luxembourgs. Their arrival marked a turning point for Bohemia and for Prague itself. Enter Charles VI, a king whose ambition and vision transformed Prague into the beating heart of Europe, a place where history and legend would intertwine. Charles IV was a true Renaissance man before the Renaissance even began. Highly educated, fluent in several languages, and determined to elevate Prague above all other cities in the Christian world. He founded Charles University, the first university in Central Europe, and commissioned the iconic Charles Bridge, which would become a symbol of Prague's enduring strength and beauty. He also began the construction of the breathtaking St. Vitus Cathedral, turning Prague into a city straight out of a fairy tale, filled with soaring spires and Gothic wonder. Under his enlightened rule, Prague became the main capital of the Holy Roman Empire, a vibrant hub for students, artists, scholars, and thinkers from every corner of Europe. Bohemia's rich silver mines fueled a golden age of prosperity, attracting merchants and craftsmen, and sparking a cultural explosion. Charles issued the Golden Bull of 1356, securing Bohemia's special status within the empire and making its king one of the most powerful rulers in Europe. This was truly Bohemia's golden age, an era of peace, prosperity, and a flourishing of art, music, and learning. Charles IV didn't just build monuments, he forged a sense of national identity and pride that would inspire generations of Czechs. He showed the world that even a small kingdom could outshine Europe's giants, if only for a shining moment in history. Today, his legacy is still written across Prague's skyline and lives on in the pride of the Czech people. After the reign of Charles IV, Bohemia descended into chaos, corruption spread, kings grew weaker, and the church was plagued by scandal and greed. The people grew frustrated as their leaders failed them, and the gap between the powerful and the common folk widened. Enter Jan Hus, a bold preacher and reformer who dared to challenge the status quo. He spoke out fiercely against church corruption, demanding honesty and justice, and called for church services to be held in Czech, the language of the people, instead of Latin. His words inspired hope and stirred unrest. The church, threatened by his ideas, lured him to a council with promises of safety. But instead of dialogue, they condemned him as a heretic and burned him at the stake, hoping to silence his movement forever. But Hus's martyrdom had the opposite effect. Instead of crushing reform, his death ignited the Hussite movement, ordinary Czechs rising up to defend their faith, their language, and their national identity. What followed were the Hussite Wars, 2 decades of fierce resistance, as Bohemia, led by the brilliant Jan Žižka and his legendary armored war wagons, stood strong against 5 crusades launched by Catholic Europe. It was a true medieval David versus Goliath story. The Hussites, outnumbered and outgunned, invented new tactics and weapons, refusing to surrender even when the odds seemed impossible. Their fight wasn't just about religion, it was about defending their way of life, their language, and their freedom to choose their own path. Eventually, the wars ended in a hard-won compromise, but the Hussite legacy endured. Religious tolerance, independent thinking, and a fierce sense of identity became hallmarks of Czech culture. The movement left a permanent mark, making Bohemia stand out as a unique and resilient land in the heart of Europe for centuries to come. It was a messy, violent, but crucial chapter in European history, a powerful reminder never to underestimate a determined people united by a cause. The Hussites showed the world that even a small nation, when united, could shake the entire continent and inspire future generations. Their spirit of resistance would echo through Czech history, influencing revolutions and movements for centuries. And yes, even today, those armored wagons are still seriously cool. After the Hussite Wars, Bohemia faced a new problem: who would rule? The nobles chose Ferdinand I of the Habsburgs, a powerful family that promised protection but never left. The Habsburgs brought central rule and Catholicism, clashing with Bohemia's tradition of self-rule and religious freedom. For a while, Prague did well, especially under Emperor Rudolf II, who filled the city with artists, scientists, and strange things. But under the fancy Renaissance look, problems were brewing as the Habsburgs slowly took away Bohemian rights. Nobles watched their power and faith disappear, realizing their security guard was becoming a landlord. The uneasy friendship was turning into a hostile takeover. The stage was set for a big fight that would affect all of Europe. Bohemia's freedom and identity were at stake. The next part would be explosive. Problems exploded in 1618 with the Second Defenestration of Prague. Angry nobles threw Catholic officials out a castle window. Amazingly, they lived, but the act started the 30 Years' War. Bohemian nobles removed the Habsburg king and chose their own, directly challenging the emperor's power. The Battle of White Mountain in 1620 was a disaster. Bohemia's army was crushed in less than an hour. Freedom was lost for 300 years. The aftermath was cruel. Executions, forced changes in religion, and many people being forced to leave devastated the population. The Habsburgs made German and Catholic rule, turning Bohemia into just a province. This time, called the Darkness, saw Czech culture and language hidden away. The lively spirit of earlier centuries was put down, surviving only in country areas. The war's pain shaped who the Czechs were, and made them long for freedom. The memory of defeat and foreign rule would echo for generations, but the Czech spirit lasted, waiting for its moment to return. So, what's the main point? You can't understand the Czech Republic without this wild, often painful history. The strength of the Czechs today comes from Hussite defiance and centuries of surviving foreign rule. Walk across the Charles Bridge or visit a castle, and you're stepping into a living museum of rebellion, faith, and big dreams. The Czech sense of humor, dark, ironic, and smart, was formed by centuries of strange and hard times. Stories like The Good Soldier Svejk show this spirit, dealing with chaos with wit and stubbornness. Despite problems, the Czech language, culture, and independent spirit survived hidden, waiting to come back. Understanding this past shows a nation that never lost who it was, and honestly it makes that excellent cheap beer taste even better.